Welcome to PowerShell tutorial. To learn PowerShell, the very first thing you do on your Windows computer, simply type PowerShell. By default, you should have PowerShell on your computer. Click on it. Let's see what is the version of PowerShell that is currently available on my computer. For that, the command that you have to type is $, which is there in your keyboard 4, and then type PS stands for PowerShell, and then version table. This is the table dot PS version, PowerShell version. This is the command. Once you type the command, hit on enter and see what is the current version of PowerShell script or the PowerShell you have on your computer. I have 5.1.2.2.6.1 at the moment. Let's go to the browser and type latest PowerShell version. Hit enter. I can see a page from Microsoft.com, and the PowerShell version that I could see on the home page is 7.2. Let me open this. And you can see it says PowerShell 7.4 long-term support. That is what we have. And on this particular page, you have a MSI package. Click on this MSI package. On this page, you can see PowerShell 7.4.6. Based on the time you're watching the video, there could be a higher version here on this page. All you have to do, simply click on the MSI package based on the version of your computer. So I have a 64 version of OS, so I'm going to use the first link. If it is 32-bit, you can go with the second link. Now in the download section, allow for some time for it to download. Once the download is complete, I'm going to click on this. And this is the screen that you would see. Welcome to PowerShell 7 x64 setup. I'm going to hit on next. It is going to select the default location of your C drive program files PowerShell. If you want to install it elsewhere, you can select it. I would recommend is to leave it as it is. And I'm going to hit on next. And these options, the default option, leave it as it is and hit on next. And all these default recommended options, do not change them, leave it as it is. And I'm going to hit on next and install it. You might get a prompt for user control. Click on yes and allow the installation to complete. You can see on my screen, the installation is complete now. You will get this particular screen, and here you have the option launch PowerShell. Click on launch and hit on finish. And you can see the PowerShell has opened, and you can see the version number is now 7.4.6. Previously, we tried a command. We can also try the command just for learning purpose. PS version table dot PS version, PowerShell version. Hit enter. You can see it says 7.4.6, that is 7.4.6. So the installation is now complete. Now the next thing that comes to our mind, what is the use of PowerShell? PowerShell is a powerful task automation and configuration management framework from Microsoft. Let's see some key usage of PowerShell. Automating administrative tasks. PowerShell excels at automating repetitive tasks on Windows systems like managing user accounts, groups in Active Directory, configuring network settings, managing services and processes, working with files and folders. Scripting. PowerShell is a full-fledged scripting language allowing you to write complex scripts to automate complex tasks. Remote management. Manage multiple computers remotely using PowerShell remoting. Cloud management, CI/CD, data manipulation. So there are many usage. Slowly we will see how PowerShell can be used. The next question you may have, why PowerShell does not have ISE? What is ISE? Integrated Scripting Environment. What is ISE? Integrated Scripting Environment. PowerShell 7 does not have an integrated scripting environment or ISE. For few reasons. What are the few reasons? Architectural differences. PowerShell 7 is built on .NET Core, while Windows PowerShell, which includes the ISE, the Windows PowerShell has a ISE, integrated scripting environment, but Windows 7 is not, because this is built on .NET Core, PowerShell 7, and the Windows PowerShell is built on .NET Framework. So what is the difference? This makes it difficult to integrate the ISE, which is tightly coupled with .NET Framework, into PowerShell. So what happens? The PowerShell 7 is more focused on the cross-platform compatibility. PowerShell 7 aims to be cross-platform, running on Windows. It can run on Mac OS, Linux, right? So that's why it doesn't have a ISE, or called integrated scripting environment. So if I don't have an integrated scripting environment, then where do I code? So Microsoft recommends Visual Studio Code or VS Code with the PowerShell extension. So now you need one more tool to be installed, that is called Visual Studio Code or VS Code. Now let's install Visual Studio Code. For that, go to your browser and simply type Visual Studio Code, enter. So the very first link that you would find from code.visualstudio.com, click on this link, and here you would find download for Windows. I'm going to click on this, and here you have the option download, and here you see Windows 10 11. I'm going to click on this, and you can see the installation, the download has already started. Give it a few seconds. All right, so the download has complete. I will go to the folder and try to open it. So here you can see the setup window has appeared. All I have to do, I'll click on I accept the agreement, hit on next. Then I would leave the default location as it is, hit on next. Already exists. Would you like to install to that folder anyway? Because I had already installed it last time, that's why it is prompting you. You might not get this prompt, that's okay. Simply go and follow the instructions on the screen. Visual Studio Code, hit on next, and leave all these options as it is, no changes, and install. So you can see the installation has started. Give it few minutes. All right, so the installation is complete. All I have to do, hit on finish. After you launch Visual Studio, this is what you would find. Choose your theme and all these options you would find. I would like to leave it as it is, the default one. So what I will do, I'll simply close this window. If you're interested in different ones, I like the dark one. I will leave it as it is, the default one. I'm going to close this window. Then the very first step is to install the extension. And what is the extension we have to install for the PowerShell? You simply type PowerShell here in the extension. So this is the button. Okay, extension button. So I've typed PowerShell. Click on the very first appearance. This is from Microsoft.com. Okay, this is from Microsoft.com. And if I read this, this extension provides rich PowerShell language support for Visual Studio Code. Now you can write and debug PowerShell scripts using the excellent IDE, integrated development environment like interface, that VS Code provides. So this is what you need to do your PowerShell scripting for PowerShell 7. All right, so what I will do, simply hit on install, and the installation should complete in a matter of few seconds. Just wait for a few seconds. Okay, so you can see the installation is now complete. Okay, this is complete. You can see if I click on this extension, it is all enabled and all set. All you do, simply close this. Okay, I'm going to also close the welcome. So everything is closed. Now what you do, go to the Explorer on the very first icon on the top. This Explorer will have something called Open Folder. Now click on Open Folder. And you can save your code wherever you like. I'm going to click on Documents, where I would like to keep all my PowerShell scripts. Let me create a folder here, right click, new folder, and I will name it as PowerShell scripts. Okay, so this is the folder I want. So click outside, highlight that particular folder, and then hit on select folder. That means you'll be storing all your scripts that you're going to learn in this particular folder. That's all the meaning is. Hit on select folder. Okay, so once you're done, do you trust the author of the file in the folder? It will ask. Trust the author of all the files in parent folder documents. I will check it. Okay, and then I'm going to click on yes, I trust the authors. Done. So you have selected your folder. This welcome screen is coming out. I will close it. Now what you do here in the Explorer, if you bring your cursor, you see the folder that you have created. Currently the folder is blank. Now all your PowerShell script. So how do you create your very first PowerShell script? I'll show you. So what you do, click on this particular button which is new file, and then give it some name. I will say PowerShell script test1.ps1. So what is ps1? This is your extension that you have to write. You have to save all your PowerShell script files with the extension .ps1 and hit enter. So what happened? The file got created. Let's do one thing. Let's visit that file. Okay, just to see, I'll go to my documents and the PowerShell script file, and here you can see pstest1.ps1. This is the file just now I have created, which is currently blank, by the way. Now let's write our very first code. Okay, so I'll teach you how you have to write the codes and everything, but let's take with very simple one, get date. So get date. So what is get date? So get date is nothing but you would like to run and understand what is the date today. So here there is a run button. Okay, I'm going to click on this, and on the terminal you can see the output has automatically appeared. 17th November 2024, 8:49:20. You're getting it? So you got the output. So this is the command. Let's understand how commands are written in PowerShell. In PowerShell, commands known as commandlets, very important jargon. The commands are known as commandlets, pronounced as commandlets. And they follow a very specific structure. What is the structure? The structure is verb hyphen noun. We just saw get date. So verb like get, set, add, remove, these are the verbs. And the noun, date is a noun, process is a noun, service is a noun, item is a noun. So it always follows this structure, verb hyphen noun. Remember this. And these are known as, whatever you are writing, get hyphen date is a commandlet. Let us learn one more commandlet called get services. On my screen, let me open Task Manager. And here if you see, there are multiple processes which are currently running on my computer. Now, is there a way or is there a command to get all the service names? So let me try get hyphen. We will follow the same syntax. The first is a verb hyphen and then a noun. So I want what? Services. So I'll say get services, get service, and hit enter. And then I'm going to run this. So if you run this, look at, there are two buttons here. One is run. If I run this, what happens? The entire, everything that you have written will run. So for example, you can see the get service has given me all the different services which are currently stopped, running and everything, right? All the services it shown me. Let's say I'm trying the other command, get date. Okay, tab, and then I'm going to run it. Now in this case, what happens when you have two different commandlets? So what is happening? The first command ran and the second command ran. So both of them have run and it shown some output. So it has shown today is Sunday, 17 and XYZ things. It has shown everything. Now in sometimes you are not interested to run everything. Rather you are interested to run any one command. For example, I want to run only this command. So what I will do, I'll simply highlight this particular command. And that out of this two option, I'll use the second option. Let me show you. When you highlight this, it says run. When you highlight this, it says run selection. So if I simply run selection, only the commandlet which I have selected has run and it given me output 17th November 2:22 p.m. Okay, so this is how the output will appear. As we have got few idea around the commandlets, let's understand the VS Code editor slide a bit. On my screen, if you see, this is how the VS Code editor is appearing. On the left side, if you see the variable watch callback, from where it is coming, this is from this one. If I click on it, it's getting hidden. If I click once again, it is appearing. Okay, from this debug panel. Now, the other thing, for example, it is something like this. You don't want to see this. There's also another option, toggle primary sidebar. So if I simply click on this once again, you can see that is hidden. There is also another icon here. If I click on this icon, what happens? The terminal window is gone. If I click once again on this icon, this one is appearing. You getting it? Similar way, this one side, this for the bottom. The symbols are there. And this is for the right. For example, if I click on this, the right window is appearing. If I click on this again, it is gone. This is like this layout. These are just layouts. Okay. If you click something you have clicked by mistake, again click on that, it will go out. So however you want, let's say I don't want to see the terminal, I'll simply remove it. So what would happen if I run it? The terminal will automatically appear. I don't want to see it, click on it again, it's gone. The next question that comes, the text is very small. I want to increase the font size of the text. How that can be done? For that, I'll click on File. I will click on Preferences. And here there is something called Settings. And here if you see, there is option here under the text editor. If you click on Font, this is what will appear. And there is something called font size. So I will keep it to, because I'm teaching on the screen, I want slightly a bigger number. So I'll put maybe 33, click outside. And if I go back to my script, you can see the font size of the commandlets has increased. The other thing I am also would like to say, sometimes you like to apply a theme. Now I am using a dark default theme. There's an option here, File, Preferences, and then I would go to Theme and I'll click on Color Theme. So here, these are the default options. You can try out. The moment you click on something, for example, I'll click on this, you can see how it has changed. So based on your need, you can think what you want, how you want. So all these things you can think of. You can try out few more. File, Preferences, Theme, Color Theme. Let me try Monokai dimmed red. So there are many options. See how it appears. So it's up to you how you would like to keep it. Go File, Preferences, Theme, Color Theme. I'll put it back to default dark modern. There's also another option, File, Preferences, Theme, Color Theme. So let's say for example, there is something called, you can also use browse option here, browse additional color themes. And Searching for themes, let me type, let's say Dracula theme. You can see different themes are available. So it's up to you. You can play around these options based on the theme that you like. You can keep it. Okay. So I'll go back to this one. So these are a couple of theme option. Try out, but do not try out many things and then you entirely are not aware how to get back. So be very careful. Now the next question is there a way to remember all the commands? The answer is you don't have to remember all the commands. I'm going to show you two alternative ways to find all the commands. All you have to do, simply type a command called get hyphen command. This is the commandlet you have to type, get hyphen command. And if I run this, it is going to show me all the different commands that is there in PowerShell. Start job, start process, start service, start sleep. You can see with different verbs, remove variable, remove BCD entry, bits transfer, right? Get history, get host, get item, get job. So like that, you have hundreds and hundreds of commandlets. So I don't have to remember. Now, for example, what if I forget? Do I need to go through all these commandlets and find? You don't have to. So I'm going to show you another easy way. All you do, simply type get hyphen command space, and I'm going to use a hyphen, and let's say I remember the noun. So the commandlets are formed verb hyphen noun. So I'm going to say noun, and let's say I remember the word called service. I just remember the word service, but I don't exactly know what to do with the service. So I'll simply type that, and if I run this, what happens? If you see all the things that are there with service, for example, get service, new service, remove service, restart service, resume service. So all those nouns will automatically come. And the same thing you can do with also verb. For example, if I type hyphen verb and I remember it is something to do with, let's say, install. I don't remember the exact command, something to do with install. So if I simply run this selection, you can see all the things will come. Install DTC, install module, install script, right? So this way, it quickly helps you to find the right command. Sometimes what happens, for example, I need to understand how to use, let's say, install script, okay, or install package. So what you can do, simply say get hyphen help and use that command, copy paste the command, commandlet, and then write hyphen full. So this is what I want. If I run this selection, okay, so here if you go out, it will say the input required is system.string, output system.object. So like that, it will give you certain help around that command. Now let's understand what is an alias. To understand alias, you remember the previous command, how to get help. So you write get help, and let's say I want to get help on service, and I will simply say full. So this was the command we just learned. If I run this command, if you go up, there is something called aliases. What is this GSV means? Let me show you. When you type get hyphen service, and then when you run this particular line, what happens? You used to get all the services. Now the same thing can also be achieved using the alias. For example, I'm typing GSV. That was the alias for get service. So if I type this and I'm going to simply run this line, what happens? You can see the similar answers have appeared using GSV instead of get service. Now, if you are an expert, if you remember this aliases, then it becomes easy. But it might be difficult for others who might not remember the alias. What is GSV? So how do I get all the list of aliases? So simply all you have to do, simply get alias if you type, and then run this particular line of code. You can see all the aliases that are there within PowerShell has appeared. For example, move item, you can write MV, new alias, you can say NAL, right? For example, stop process, kill, right? These are the different aliases that can be used. So as a beginner, you should slowly learn to use these aliases. But again, when it comes to code readability, I would not recommend you to go for aliases, rather use the write the entire commandlet. As a program, the next thing that you should learn is about variables. So before you learn variables, you need to be aware of the naming convention of the variables. So basically there are three important ones. One is the camel case, and the other one is the Pascal case, and the other one is snake case. So these are the three different variables. So how does the camel case looks like? For example, I want to declare a variable. I will say my variable. So the very first word of your variable, the very first character of your variable starts with a lowercase. It's more like a camel, there's a hump. And the next word onwards, you would have your capital. Okay, capital words. My variable, let's say string. So you can see the very first character I have kept it as lower, and the rest becomes capital, the next set of words. Okay, so this is how you do a camel case. If it is a Pascal case, you write everything, every first character of the word starts with a capital. So I will say my variable. And if you start with a snake case, probably I will say my underscore variable. It's more like a chain, like a snake. So this is how, these are the different three cases. You can think which one you like and you can go with. I will go with the Pascal case, capital, everything. The first word I will start with the capital later. So let's see how you declare variables in PowerShell. So let's declare a variable. To declare a variable, you will use the dollar symbol and you will write your variable. So I'll say my variable equals to, I'm going to write my channel name, automate with Rakesh. Now, how do I print this variable? Again, use a dollar symbol and use your variable name. You can hit on enter. Now the variable is declared. Let me run it. So if I run it, you can see here it has printed automate with Rakesh. Now sometimes what happens, if you have too many things on your screen, you can simply type clear and hit enter so that everything will be cleared. Let me run it again. You can see the output here has been printed, automate with Rakesh. Sometimes you can also go with single quote, but ensure it also ends with a single quote. If I run this, even it is going to print the output. Now what if I'm going to remove this, and within single quote, let me type a 06. If you are putting anything within a quote, that will be called a character. You can see it has printed even 06 as a character. Now what is this character? This is called a string. So a series of characters is called a string, right? Now if I type without a quote, so this becomes a number. For example, I'm typing 06. So this becomes a number. If I run this, you can see the way it has printed. Last time it was a character, it has printed 06. Because now it's a number, there's no meaning of keeping a 0 before the number, so it has printed 6. Now you need to be aware of few things which are called methods and properties. If I put a dot here, you see the wrench like a symbol which comes, these are called property. So if I go with this, let's say I'm typing dot length. If I run this, what is the output? The output says 2. So that means the character length of the variable is 2. So that's a property. Now let me use a dot again, and instead of the property, I'll use the cube symbols. What are these cube symbols? These are called methods. This is called property and the cube symbols are called methods. So I'm going to use one of the method called getType. So the moment you type, you will see the parenthesis has automatically come. Let me close the parenthesis. And if I am going to run this, It will tell me what kind of a data type it is. So it said the data type of this is a string. If I remove the quote and try to run it, the data type is now an integer. Let's do one thing. Let's declare few variables. So I've selected my variable 1. I'll type 1, the first variable, and let's write few more variable. So this I will say as, let's say 5. Now what would happen if I use a dollar symbol and I'll add both of them, my variable 1 plus dollar my variable. Okay, I did not declare, so change it to 2 and then say my variable 2. So when you submit and run it, definitely I'm expecting an output called 11. You can see it has come. This is one way. There is also another way. I can use a dollar symbol and I can say my variable, let's say result, I will say equals to, and I want to print dollar my variable result. So if I'm going to run this, you can see the output has come 11. So these are the some different ways of using the variables. Now let's see some basic arithmetic operators. So the plus one you have seen. For example, if I have to do the minus, simply write minus symbol and run it, and you can see the output has come 1. Sometimes it's good to clear the output. Let me run it again. You can see the output has come 1. This is for subtraction. Let's say I have to do multiplication. Use the star symbol and run it, and you can see 30 has appeared. Let's say I would like to do the division. Use the division symbol, run it, and you can see it has come 1.2. 6 divided by 0.5, 6 divided by 5, 1.2. Now the remainder, right? If you want to get the remainder, this is the modular symbol. You have to use this, and if I run this, you get remainder as 1. When you divide 6 by 5, remainder is 1. Next, let's see how the PowerShell Boolean variable works. Now for this, let me create a Boolean variable. I'll use again, remember, dollar symbol, my Boolean, creating a variable name. And here I'm using a equals to symbol. And what I will do, I'm going to assign some value to it. So PowerShell has these values, which are the default values, $true, $false. I'm going to hit on enter. Now let's see what is the type of this. I've created a variable, but let me see the type. So for understanding the type, you will use the dollar symbol, type the variable name, my Boolean variable, and once you have typed it, dot, the method that you will use is get type, right? This is the method. You get the parenthesis, you close it. Now if I only run this, the selected option, you can see the output has come Boolean. Similar way, you can also say false. So for example, I can say $false. Let me run the selection by selecting the code, run selection, and you can see the it's a Boolean type. Okay, so the data type is a Boolean type, what I'm trying to print. All right, now why are we writing $false? Let me tell you. For example, if I'm going to create a variable with the same true or false, right? For example, if I type true equals to 1, what happened? You get an error. If you highlight the error, it tells you the variable true cannot be assigned since it is a read-only automatic variable that is built into PowerShell. Please use a different name. So it will not allow you to use a variable or the value which is already set for PowerShell. You can't use this as variable. So this is about the Boolean variables. Now let's learn some basic comparison operators. I'm going to delete everything here. And let's take some two numbers. For example, if I have to say 2 equals to 3, what should be the output? It should say false. So I'll say 2 hyphen equals to 3. So this is how in PowerShell it is written. Now if I'm going to run this, the output which it has given is false. Now 2 is equals to 2 if I write, the output is true. Now let's do one thing. Let's quickly learn all the comparison operators one by one. So you understood this is how the equals to is written in PowerShell, hyphen eq equals to. Pretty simple, easy to remember. And this way it will not work. In other programming languages, you might use equals to, right? So if I run this, see, it doesn't recognize. Okay, so let me clear it and minimize the terminal. So how you write equals to? Hyphen eq. Simple. Similar way, if I have to write not equals to, then how do you write? Similar way, hyphen not equals to, ne. So easy. Next, for example, if I want to write greater than, so 2 space hyphen greater than, gt, greater, gt, okay, 3, okay. If I have to check 2 is greater than equals to, so hyphen greater than equals to 3. If I have to check less than equals to, 2 hyphen less than if I have to check less than 3. So this is how you write. Let's say 2 less than equals to hyphen less than equals to 3. Getting it? So these are the important one: equals to, not equals to, greater than equals to, less than equals to, some, the basic comparison operators. If I run the code, you can see the output. What is the output? 2 equals to 3, it said false. 2 not equals to 3, that is true. 2 is not equals to 3. 2 is greater than 3, false, it's not greater than 3. Now it will check 2 is greater than equals to 3, it will say false, right? 2 is less than 3, is 2 is less than 3, yes, true. 2 is less than equals to 3, true, right? So this is how, these are the some basic comparison operators in PowerShell. Next, let's learn about the arrays in PowerShell. Let me erase this code and create an array. So what is an array? So array is a data structure which can hold multiple items. For example, I created a variable a, and in that I will store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is happening? Now this variable is now can hold multiple different items. Now for example, if I want to check whether it's an array or anything else, all you do $a dot get type, close the parenthesis. Now if I'm going to run the code, what is the output? It says, okay, the variable a is an array and it contains the integer kind of data. Now I would like to understand, let's say I would like to print or maybe let's understand how many characters are there. So there is another property that you can use called count. You remember this wrench symbol that you get? They are called properties, and the cube symbols are methods. So here I said count. Now if I'm going to run the code, it will tell me the output is 5. So total there are 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the next thing we have to learn in the array is that if I have to print any number from the number of items, so there are 5 items. Let's say I would like to print the very first item. So if I write the index number 0, so the indexes of an array always starts from 0. So it will be 0 index. Index means position. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So there are 4 positions. The number starts from 0. So if I print like this and run the code, what I'm expecting, it has printed 1. Now if I write 1 here, what it is going to print? It should print 2. In the position number 1, what is there? 2 is there. So if I run it, you can see the 2 has been printed. Now let's say I would like to print from the index number 0 to, there is a range operator like that. You have to put 2 dots and I am going to say 3. So that means what would be the output? 0 means it will print 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So until here it will print until the third position. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It has printed 4 numbers. Similar way, if you want to create a range, for example, I'm saying 1 dot dot 10 and I would like to print the array. Simply I'll use the variable and run it. So you can see what it has done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It has printed everything. Only thing you have to remember is the range operator. 2 dots you have to use. Okay. Now a couple of other things. For example, if I'm going to print from the 0th position, and then I'll put 2 dots and I'll say print it till the 4th position. So what I'm expecting when I run this, I'm expecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 it has printed. You can also use the negative numbers. For example, I want to print, let's say the opposite way. I want to print from, let's say the 9th position until -5 position. So if I'm going to run this, you can see it has printed. What happened? The countdown has started. So in the opposite way. So it will be more easy if I put like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to use 2 different operators, values here. So I would say print from -2 and -3. Okay. So if I'm, or -4, let's put. Now if I'm going to run this, so what happened? What got printed? Let me clear it. Okay, let's run it. So 4, 3, 2. What has printed? 4, 3 and 2. So what are you understanding from this? 4, 3, 2. So this is the in opposite direction it will run. Okay, so -1, -2, -3, -4. So it has printed from 4, 3, 2. In opposite way it has printed. See, -2 is this one and then it is printed till here. Okay, so if I do opposite, for example, I say -4 and I do -2, -2. So last time it has printed 4, 3, 2. Okay, now if I run it, what it has printed? 2, 3, 4. So -4. What is the -4? -1, -2, -3, -4. So this is the position. And then 2, -1, -2. So it has printed from here to here, 2, 3, 4. If you write opposite way, it has printed 4, 3, 2. So these are the couple of functions or ways of dealing with array that you have learned. Next, let's understand the for each looping construct. So how the for each looping construct works? Let's create a variable, array variable. So I'll say $a. I'll create a variable name called a equals to, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 10. So that means when I'm going to print, if I have to print the $a and run the code, what happens? See, everything got printed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It has printed. It is printing. Now this can be done if you want to loop through. You want to loop through an array. How will you do it? Now what is this? For this, I am going to use for each. This is the looping construct, for each. So wherever you find this cube symbol, you know it's a method. So for each. So for each, I'm going to use. And how it is written? Pretty simple. Use parenthesis symbol. And inside that I'm using $I. It is more like a counter variable in $a. So what is $a here? $a is the one which has the value 1 till 10. So when it loops through, the first value will come to I and we need to print it. For that, all you do, use 2 curly braces, hit enter, And inside this, I just want to print $I. That's all. So $I. See, pretty simple construct. For each $I in $A. So the very first value will come here. Now let us first run it and see what is the output comes. So what is the output? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It has printed. Now what we can do with this? Let's say whatever value it comes, I should multiply by 2. So what I can do into 2. Now if I run it, what would happen? We see the very first value came 1. So 1 into 2 is equal to 2. 2 into 2 is equal to 4. 3 into 2 is equal to 6. So it has got the multiplication. So now I'm looping through the entire array for each element. For each element I'm looping and I'm doing whatever wanted within the loop. Now the next thing that we are going to learn is a hash table. So what is a hash table? So hash table that you hear is nothing but a dictionary. In many programming languages, you call it as dictionary. So what is a hash table in PowerShell or a dictionary? Let's understand. For this, let me create a variable. How do you create a variable? Always remember you're using the dollar symbol, the number 4. And then you write the variable name. For example, I'm going to write the variable name called settings. Then I'll say equals to. Then when it comes to creating a hash table or any kind of a collection means multiple values, you would be using something called @ and then curly braces. And inside the curly braces, you define your set of data. So a dictionary contains a key and a value. So what is it? For example, I'm going to say I'll create a variable. So how do you create a variable? In double quote, I'm going to create a key called app name. And I will say equals to, and again in double quote, I'll say app1. So this is one key called app name, and this is the value called app1. Okay, hit enter. And the same thing I'm going to create double quote. Let's say I'm going to say version, and here I will use equals to symbol and say I'm going to say 1.0.0. This is the version number. And let me use another key called max users. How many max users can log into that application? And here I'm going to say 100. So what I just created is a hash table. So a hash table has a key and a value, a key and a value. Okay. So it could have multiple keys and multiple values. So what is unique about a hash table? The unique is the key. You cannot have the same key twice. For example, the left side are the keys. If I'm going to type version once again, and you can see it has started giving error. What is the error? Duplicate keys version are not allowed in the hash literals. It will not allow you to have duplicate keys. So the keys in a hash table or a dictionary are always unique. So what are the things we learned? We created a variable in generic way like $settings, and then @ is used to define the number of collections. That means you can have multiple items inside that variable. And then you use two curly braces. Within that you define your key. Left side is a key. Then use a equals to symbol, and on the right hand side you write the value. And there is no comma used anywhere. Pretty simple. So this is how you create a hash table. Now the question is, okay, once the hash table is created, I would like to fetch some particular value. How will I do it? So for this, again use the dollar symbol and use the variable names. And to retrieve any value, so when it comes to collection, you remember you use a square bracket and then write the index number in the array. But in a hash table, you'll be writing the key. So for example, I would like to know what is the version, or I would like to know the application name. So all you do, simply write app name. Now tell me, the app name was declared like this and I'm writing like this. Is it case sensitive? No. So if I run this also, it is going to work. So you can see the output application 1 has come. Let me clear it and run it again. You can see application 1 has appeared. So this is not case sensitive. However you like, you can type. And the output app 1 has appeared. Similar way, can I print two things at the same time? Possible. So all you do, put a comma. Not recommended, but if you want, it is possible. So I'm going to say version. Then I'm going to run it. You can see what is the output came, app1 and 1.0.0. Two things have come. Okay, let's minimize the terminal portal. So how to retrieve something we got to know. Let's say I would like to change the value. For example, the version is 1.0.0. I would like to make it to 2.0.0. How will you do? Same way, first you need the dictionary name dollar settings, the hash table name, and then within the square bracket you would write what you would like to change. So I would like to change the version, for example. I would like to change the version is equals to, in the double quote, I'm going to say 2.0.0. 2.0.0. Now let's say if I'm going to print now dollar, take the hash table name, and you like to print the version. So what would happen? The hash table version which is here, now it has been updated with 2.0.0. The output I expect is 2.0.0. You can see the output that has appeared is 2.0.0. Getting it? So this is how it works. Now the next thing. What if I would like to loop through the entire hash table? How would you loop through? So pretty simple. You remember, to loop through, we were using the constructor for each, and then give a space and use parenthesis. That's all. So here what you used to write, $I, which would represent is more like it will contain the value while it loops. So $I, it's more like a container variable. $I in your dictionary or your hash table variable, which is settings. $I in $settings. That's all. Right? And then once you write it, what you need, inside the parenthesis, you will write whatever you want. So let's say if I am going to print $I. Okay, I'm going to print $I. So what would happen? What is getting printed? Let's first understand. So this is my hash table, and this is how I'm using the for each construct, and I am looping through the entire dictionary and I'm printing it here. Now if I run this, what happened? The entire dictionary got printed. So you can see version 1.0, max user 100, app name is app1. Getting it? So it has printed the entire thing. There are multiple ways you can play with this. So $I.settings, this is one way. You can also do something like this. For example, I will say keys, $I keys. This time it is only going to print the key name. If I run it, you can see it has only printed the key names, version, max user, app name. Okay. Similar way, if I simply say dot values, it is going to print the values, only the values. Okay, so multiple way, however you like, you can play. For example, you can also pass this way. For example, I'm passing dot keys. Now if I'm going to print only $I, it is going to only print the keys. You see? Okay, it has printed only the keys. Now let me minimize. Now let's say I want to print the values. How will you do it? I'll use the dollar settings, the hash table variable, and within the square bracket, I'm going to say $I. So that means I'm printing the keys here. So if you print the keys, what would happen? The values will automatically get printed. So you can see the values got printed. Okay, so like there are multiple properties of a hash table that you can explore. For example, I'm using dollar settings dot. There is something called, let's say, contains key. So what this will check, it will tell you whether a particular key is present or not. So close the parenthesis, and within double quote, I am going to say, for example, is version is present inside this hash table. If you run it, the output, it says true, right? So however you write, it doesn't matter. For example, I'm writing capital version also, the output will be true. Okay, so it's not case sensitive when you are taking the variable names in PowerShell. All right, now if you type, let's say I'm typing version, something like that, then it will say false. It's not present. So you have to be, the spelling has to be correct, the character has to be correct. Okay, so like this, there is also, let's explore a few more methods. Dot, there is something called also count. Okay, so if you use this, you can see it says 3. So there are 3 pairs. So 1, 2, and 3 pairs. So this is more about your hash table in PowerShell. Now, the next thing that we have to learn is a custom object. So what is a custom object and how that works? Let's see it. Let me use a comment here saying create custom object. Now, how do you create a custom object? It is more similar how you have created a hash table. Again, let's write dollar symbol and create a variable called person equals to, and the custom object when it comes. So what is custom object? We'll understand. We need an example to understand it. So let's see the syntax first. So you have to use a commandlet called PS PowerShell script custom object. This is the commandlet you have to use. The moment you select, automatically the VS script is going to give you this structure. So it has 2 things, name, and then you have to write value. In hash table, your key were quoted in double quote, but here this won't be quoted. The value can be, because if it is a string, you have to quote it. Now, for example, let's say I would like to store the first name of a person, and the value I am going to keep it, for example, John. Okay, hit enter. Now the second thing, let's say I want to keep the last name. So last name, see, I'm not using double quote like hash table. Every key used to be always in double quote because they were always strings. Now this is more like a property of that object. A person has a first name, a person has a last name. So the property of a person, right? These are called objects. So object will always have a property. For example, car has a property, red color. Right, white color, black color, they are properties. Similarly, so these are called objects. So object has a property and you don't have to double quote them. Okay, last name, for example, I'll say Joe. Let's say I'm going to create another property called age, and I'm going to say 30. And let's say I'm going to say occupation equals to, I will say software developer. So what you see now here is a custom table, a custom object which has a property and its value, Okay, if you compare between the hash table previously what we learned, the only difference that you would be able to see how it is written is it has something, a commandlet it uses called PS custom object, and then your variables, right, the properties are not double quoted, they are simply written like this. Here the keys are double quoted. Now let me see what is the use of this. Let's see custom object. Why do you really create it? For example, I have created a custom object called person. I'm going to use the dollar symbol and I'm going to say person dot. Now the moment you put dot, what happens? The properties that you have created, let's say age, you have created first name, you have created last name, you have created occupation. You can see with this setting symbol, all the properties can be accessed. I can access those properties. For example, if I say age and I'm going to run it, what would happen? The age 30 got printed. Let me clear it. For example, minimize the terminal. Let's say I'm going to use another property dot. See, the moment you put a dot, it automatically appears for you, and run it. So you can see John has appeared. Now let's say I'm going to tell you print his first name and last name together. How will you do it? Now for example, I want to print the last name and first name too. So I will say in double quote, I'm going to say full name of the, or I'll simply say full name. Okay, full name colon, give a space, and I want to print it. Now what is the problem here? See, the dot first name, when you put a double quote, it's not working. You can see the method is not working. Now for this, when you have to print within a string, then what you do, you use another dollar symbol and use a parenthesis around the object. Do you see? Now you can see the color has changed. Now when you print it, you can see the full name, just now John has printed. Let's say I want to print the last name also. So what I will do, I'll give a space and then use the similar method dollar parenthesis and again call the object. So the object name is person dot last name. See, the properties automatically appearing for you. Now if I'm going to run this, you can see the output has appeared John Doe. Now what is the differences you are able to make out of this? Here the PS custom object. So you have created a custom object with multiple properties. You can add as many properties you like. First name, last name, age, occupation, anything else about the person you can add. You can continue to add them. And these things can be accessed using a dot. Right? Now for a hash table, you can't access something like this, right? For a hash table, how did you use it? For example, dollar settings dot, if you put, it doesn't give you any of this. This can be only accessed using a square bracket, and inside that you used to write, for example, if I type version, then you will be able to access the values. So for example, if I run this, you can see 1.0.0 has appeared. But wherein in a custom object, you can simply access the value just by using a dot first name. So these are some of the basic logical differences between a custom object. As we have learned how to create custom object, let's see how you can create a list of custom objects. So what is the list of custom objects? Let's see it. For this, I'm going to remove the entire thing and put a comment list of custom objects. Okay. Now for this, if I ask you to create a list, what you do? You create a variable with a dollar symbol. So I'm going to say employees as a variable, and then use equals to symbol and use a @ symbol and two parentheses. So this is how you create a list. List means multiple objects in one variable, multiple values inside one variable. So I've created $employees. Now here I have to create custom object, that is to list of custom object. That means multiple custom objects. So for this, first thing what you do, write the PS custom object commandlet. Okay, the moment you hit enter, everything will get automatically written for you. This extra square symbol, remove it. So now let's use something. So I'll say name, I'll give a name, let's say Alice, and then I will create another one called age, another property called age. I'll write, let's say 45. And the third one, I will say role equals to is a manager. Okay, this is one object I have created. Now, when I see the code like this, it doesn't look really so good. Okay, I want to keep it at one line because I will have multiple objects. So what I will do, I'll keep my mouse cursor here, click on delete, delete, and bring it up here. Similarly, keep the mouse pointer, delete, keep the here, and then again keep my mouse cursor and delete. This is how I have got everything into one line. Now the moment you bring it to one line, what happened? You see, you started getting some red, you know, it tells you there is some error. So what is the error? So when you bring it in one line, all you do simply use a semicolon. Semicolon here, semicolon here. Now you can see all those errors are gone. This is a list of objects. So what I will do, I'll copy this entire line, bring the cursor here, hit enter and paste it once again, some 3 times. All I will do, I'll change the names here. For example, here I'll say John, whose age is, let's say 25, who is a developer. And then I'll use another name called Bob, whose age is, let's say 28, and he's a tester. So now what you see is a list of custom objects. Okay, now the important part, once you have created this list, how do you iterate through them? That is important. So next thing we have to learn, iterate through a list of custom objects. Okay, list of custom objects. So how do you iterate through? Now for this, I'll use a for each construct, and you know how to use the syntax, parenthesis, and I'm going to use a $I to carry the values while it is looping in, and I will write the variable which is holding all the objects, which is employees. Pretty simple. And then keep your mouse cursor, hit enter, and use 2 curly braces, hit enter. So this is your construct for each. Now what would happen if I'm going to say $I dot, and I'm going to use the property called name property. So $I dot name. Okay, so name property I'm going to use. So what it will do, it will go to this list and look for the name properties and their values, and is going to print them. Okay, that's how it works. Now if I'm going to run it, okay, so you can see Alice, John, Bob. Let me clear the screen, run it again. You can see Alice, John, Bob has appeared. Now let's say I'm going to print multiple things. Let's say name, age, role I want to print one after the other. So what you do, use a, as I said, use a double quote, close the double quote, and inside this, so you can see the dot name has changed itself as a string, normal string. So that time what you do, use a dollar symbol in front and close all of them within a parenthesis. Okay, so I want to print the name, then I'll want to give a comma, and then print the age. The same structure you have to do, dollar, parenthesis, and then write $I dot age. You can see the properties appearing. Similar way, use a comma, again dollar symbol, parenthesis, dollar symbol, I dot role. Okay, so now what is happening? Now all the things will be printed for us when the loop is continuing. Alice 45 manager, John, comma, like this it will get printed. If I'm going to run it, you can see how the output has come. Alice 45 manager, John 25 developer, Bob 28 tester. So this is called a list of custom object. Let's learn a very powerful feature in PowerShell called pipeline. So what is a pipeline? Let me write something. So pipeline. So what exactly pipeline means? So this means you are going to pass output of one command as input of another command. So this is pipeline. So what does exactly this means? Let's understand. So for example, I have a command 1. So whatever the output of that command comes, that will become input for the command 2. And whatever the output of command 2, it can become input of command 3. Like that, you can continue as long as you want. So what we are understanding, every command creates an output, and that output can become an input for this command 2, and that will process, and that it will produce another output, and that output becomes input for the another command, the next command, the command that is on the right side. So what is it? Let me give you a very simple example to start with. Let me write something, a string called hello world. So this is what, this is the text. So if I simply run this, what would happen if I'm going to simply run it? So you get printed hello world. So there's the output. So hello world is the output. Now what if I'm going to pass this one as an input to the next command? For example, what I will do, I'll use a for each object commandlet. For each object commandlet. And in this, I'll use two curly braces. As you know, for each, you'll have to use curly braces. To pass this object to this next object, you have to use a very powerful commandlet called $_ and then put a dot. What I'm doing, $_ is the one which represents the left side output. What it is, the $_ represents the left command output. Whatever the output of this command is, this is carried by this $_. Simple. Now once I have this output, let's say I would like to convert this to upper. So what would happen, this hello world becomes an input here, right? And it will go through that entire each character and is going to convert it to upper. We'll close the parenthesis. Okay, so this is a classic example. If I'm going to run this, you can see what happened. The hello world is now converted all into uppercase. So that means the input of the first command is passed as the input for the second command. The output of this passed as input for the second command. Okay, now this is one example. Now let's see a few more examples to understand this. For example, you have learned about this verb and then hyphen. This is the nomenclature, right? This is the syntax. And I'm writing process. So get hyphen process. If I run this, what is the output? Let me highlight this and simply run only this line. So the output is, it tells you all the processes that are currently running in your system. Currently, the processes which are on, correct? So here, Notepad is one of them. Okay. So what I will do, I will go through this process through a for. So I'll use another clause called where object. So where object is Notepad. So instead of seeing all this output, I'm interested in only one process, which is Notepad. So I'll say where object, and again I'll use curly braces, $_, which represents the output of the previous command. So the output of the previous command is so many processes that you see on my screen right here in the output panel. So now what I'm doing, I'm using dot and I'm using the property called name. So every process will have a name. So for example, all that you see on the extreme right, Chrome, these are all names, okay, process names. So this has a property called dot name. So I'm going to use the dot name and then hyphen equals to. So this is the operator that we have learned, right? This is the equals to operator. I'll say equals to, and in double quote, I'm going to say Notepad. Pretty simple. Look at it. So what I'm saying, get process, get all the processes that are running in my computer where object name is equals to Notepad. Now, if I run this particular line now, what would happen? It showed me lot many things only around Notepad. Do you see? npm, pm, CPU 0.05, ID is 23440, one instance is open, and Notepad. I got it. So I got all the details only specific to Notepad. Now let's say I'm not interested in all these columns. What I'm interested in, ID, name, and right. These are the two things. For example, I'm interested ID and name. So what I will do, again, I'll use a pipe symbol and write select object, and then I'm going to add the column names which I am interested in. So for example, I am interested in ID, comma, name. So these are the two things I am interested in. Now, if I'm going to run this particular line, now you can see the ID and the name has appeared. So here what is working? The pipe symbol that we have used here is working. So you are using a pipe symbol to pass the command. Okay, so this is called pipeline. Let's take few more example. Okay, for example, let's go through another command. Hit enter. So get service. Okay, if you use this commandlet and run this commandlet, what happens? It will tell you all the services that are there. All the services in your computer are there. It is going to show you all the different services. Let's say I am just interested in the services which are running. So again, I'll use a where object commandlet, and here I'll use same syntax, very simple, dollar underscore dot, and here I'll use the property called status. Running is a status, right? Status equals to, and I'm going to say running. Okay, so what I've written, get service where object start whose status is running, only those you show me. Now if I'm going to run this particular commandlet, so you can see the command has run, and these are the things which are currently running. Okay, so these are the things which are currently running. So this is how you can use the pipeline to pass the output of the previous command to the next command. Let's see a few more examples. Okay, for example, let's say I would like to understand how many files are present in a given path, in a folder path. Okay, for example, I'll say get hyphen child item, and then I will mention the path. So path should be in the double quote. So for example, let me get a path of any folder. So I'm just copying the path. C drive, documents. Let's say I'll go to Python scripts. I'll just copy some path. Okay, and I'm going to paste it here. Now let's say I will just keep it until documents. Okay, now what would happen if I run this command, get child item of this? So how many folders files are there in how many files are there inside this? It should show me. So for example, if I am going to run this, okay, so it tells me these are the different files you have, url.csv, what is agentic automation, vendor list, or something, all the files I have in this particular path. Now once I get all these files, what I'm interested, show me the files which are greater than 1 MB. I wanted to see. Okay, now to see all the files, right, what I have to use, where object, in the curly braces, I'll again use a dollar symbol, underscore, dot. I would use the length. Length is greater than 1 MB. What I'm writing, where object whose length is greater than 1 MB. Okay, so this is my command which I have typed. Now what I am going to do, I am going to run this entire command. Okay, let me select the entire command. Okay, and I'm going to run it. So if I'm going to run it, it told me out of all those files that you saw, in that Greater than 1 MB is this file. What is agentic automation? This is the greater than 1 MB. This file was created on so and so time. So everything is shown. So like this, this is a very powerful feature called pipeline. You can see the output of one command. I'm passing it to the other one and trying to get the output. So pipeline is one of the powerful feature in PowerShell script. The next thing we are going to learn is if, else if, else. This is a conditional statement, and how this conditional statement works, let's see it. Now for this, let me first create a variable called age. We'll take a very simple example, and I am giving some value to it, 25. So how do you write the if commandlet? For this, you have to use if, okay, and hit enter. So automatically you get entire structure for yourself. You don't have to really remember parentheses, curly braces. So this is how we can easily do it on VS Code. Now once you have it, all you do, the condition is already highlighted. All you do, start typing. So I will say $age and then hyphen less than equals to 18. If the age is less than equals to 18, then I will highlight this and write hyphen output. This is the commandlet to print something. Okay, write hyphen output. And here I'm going to say within double quotes, I'm going to say you are output, and then I'm going to say, so for example, you don't remember, okay, is it working or not? Simply write output hyphen output and hit enter. Okay, and then within the double quote, I'm going to write you are a minor. Okay, done. And then let's go, and here in the next line, in the 7th line, I'm going to say else if, again hit enter, then start typing $age less than equals to 18. Here I would say age is greater than 18 and $age is less than less than 60 or less than equals to 60. Okay, so I'm saying less than equals to 60. If this is the condition, then what I want to print this as an output, wherein I would say you are an adult. You are an adult. Simple. Now come to the next line. So here I'll say else, hit enter, and here I'm going to again copy paste my output, and I'm going to simply say you are a senior citizen. Pretty simple. So this is what I have written. Now pretty simple. All you have to understand if, else if, else. This is how it works. Based on the requirement, you will be using them. And if I run the code, write output, you are an adult. There is a problem. Let me fix it. Let me put them inside a parenthesis. I guess I Control X, V, parenthesis, Control X. Okay, let's see it. Okay, looks okay to me. Let me run it again. Let me clear everything and run it again. Okay, so now you can see it is working. You are an adult. I just forgot to put the parenthesis. So you are an adult. That's working. Now, for example, if I change the value, for example, I make it to 60. Let's say 61 if I do it. And if I'm going to run this, it says you are a senior citizen. Okay, if I make it to 60 and run it, it says you are an adult. If I make it to maybe 16 and run it, it tells me you are a minor. So getting it? So pretty simple code. This is how you would be writing a if, else if, else conditional statement. The next thing we are going to learn is a switch statement. So how the switch statement works, let's see it. Now what is the switch statement? If, else if, all this you have seen. Now imagine you have got 10 such conditions. Are you going to write if, else if, else if, else if, else if, else if? Your coding becomes more complicated when you look at, right? So there is something called switch statement, and how to use that, let's see it. For this, all you have to do is simply type switch, hit enter. And the VS Code is going to give you the entire syntax. That means you don't have to literally remember all the syntaxes. Automatically with the commandlet, everything is coming for you. Now here it is asking to write a variable. Dollar symbol means variable. So let's do one thing. Let's create a variable first, dollar, and I would say input 1 equals to, I'm going to give some color here, for example, yellow. And then here instead of $x, I'm going to replace that with the dollar input 1. Okay, done. And after that, all you have to do within these two curly braces, you have to write all your conditions. Now, what are the conditions I'm going to write? So remove this word called condition and write, for example, if it is, let's say, if the color, the input is red, that means I would like to write output. Okay, I would like to write output. What I will say stop, like in a signal, right? In the traffic signal. So red means stop. Okay, done. Now, as many as conditions I need, I can write it. So copy, I'll hit enter, paste it, and I'll change it to, let's say, yellow. And I'm going to say, instead of stop, I'm going to say caution. Similar way, let's copy paste once again, and instead of red, I'm going to say green. And in the output section, I'm going to say go, stop, caution, go. And anything else, there is something called default. How to use this default? Apart from these three colors, if somebody is providing any other color, okay, so that time what to do? There are a lot of gaps. Let's remove the gap. Okay, now all I will do, I'll copy this one, paste it here, and I will write an output which will say unknown. Okay, unknown color. Anything you like, you can mention. So you can see the same thing. If I have to write in a if else if, so I have to write a if and then else if, else if, else if, else. So this gives you more easy way when you have multiple conditions. Now imagine you have 10 such conditions. It is just in one straight line, easy to read, easy to understand, easy to execute. So let's do one thing. So how it works, let's see it. I'm right now given the input called yellow. I'm going to run it. So what is the output I got? Caution. Okay, let's change the color. For example, I'm going to say red and run it. Then you can see it said stop. Red means stop. Now if I say green and I'm going to run this, it says go. If you put any other color, for example, I say blue, and if I run this, it says unknown color. So switch case is very, very powerful when you have multiple conditions. The same thing you can also achieve with if else if, but the recommended one for one variable can contain multiple different values, and based on the variable value you would like to take a decision, then this is the more ideal way to go for. Now the next thing that we should learn is a do while. So do while is a loop that executes a block of code at least once and then continue executing the block of code until condition is true. So what is that entire meaning? Let's understand via an example. Let me create a variable called count and I'm going to give some value. Let's say I'm going to give a value called 0. This is an integer variable I have created. And then I'm going to use a do while loop. So the moment you type do here in your VS Code, simply select do while and hit on enter. Now what happens by that is you get the entire structure of the code automatically printed for you. You don't have to really remember. Now here what I will do in the do, right? It clearly said it's a loop that executes a block of code at least once. So if you see the do, and then this is the space where you can write whatever you like to execute. Let me write output. Okay, write output, and here I am saying I am trying to print the variable. So I'll say dollar, and then I would like to print the variable dollar count. Okay, so first time when the loop runs, it is going to print a 0. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the value by 1. So how you do it in PowerShell, you simply say count and plus plus. So what happened, the 0 will become 1, then the loop continues, it will become 2, 3, 4, like that. So here the place where you have to write the condition. Okay, so how do you write the condition? So here I would say dollar count is less than 5. So until it is less than 5, you continue the loop. Okay, until it's less than 5, you continue the loop. Now the moment I am going to run this, what would happen? You can see the printing has happened. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what would happen if I make it to less than equals to? So it will also print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically this is how a do while loop works. And at least, even though condition is not met, let's say I'm going to say less than 0, for example, I put the condition. So what will happen because of this? You see the output, only thing it printed is 0. At least the first line will get printed, and the rest of the things did not print because the condition is less than equals to 0. So 0 is already 0, right? So this is why the condition failed here. Because the condition failed, the loop did not continue. The moment I make it to 1 and run it, you can see it has printed less than 1. I said, okay, that's why it has printed 0. If I say less than equals to 1 and run this code, see it has printed 0 and 1. So this is how the do while statement is used in PowerShell. So this is the last section of the PowerShell beginners video, that is try catch finally. To understand try catch, let me show you a few things. Let me open a notepad and here let me write some text. For example, hello Rakesh. Let's save it on my desktop. Let's go to the desktop and you can see the file exists here. I'm going to right click on the file and try to get the path or the location of the file. Go back to my code and here I'm going to do something. I'm going to use the get content. So I would like to read the entire data that is there inside the text file. And then I'm going to say path and I'm going to copy paste the path. So it is going to read that particular file from this. Okay. Now, if I run this, what happened? The content that is there inside the file is getting retrieved. For example, let me go back to that file once again, open it up and let's write something else. Let's say I'll say hello world and I'm going to save the file. Go back to my code and if I run the code now, what is happening? Hello Rakesh, hello world. These are the two, whatever content is there inside the file, line by line, it is reading them and printing in the PowerShell script. This is fine. Now, what exactly I would like to teach you? For example, in the second line, I'm going to simply copy paste this until here. And I'm going to write non-existing file .txt. So this file doesn't exist actually. And if I run this, what happened? You see an error which appears. You see there is an error which appears. If I write a line below this, for example, I'm saying hello. Okay. Now if I run the code now, just check the behavior of PowerShell. So what is happening? The hello still getting printed. Hello, everything got executed. See, hello Rakesh, hello world. And in the fourth line, line number 4, you got an error because this file, because it does not exist. And then PowerShell continued into the fifth line as well and printed hello for me. So as a default behavior of PowerShell, what it does not stop. If an error comes, it still continue to execute the rest of the code blocks or the code line of codes. Try catch. So what is try catch? So try catch means, for example, I would like to try to read the content of this file, which currently doesn't exist for us to understand. When I am reading the file, if the file does not exist, there will be an error. So what I will do, using the catch commandlet or using the catch command, I'm going to catch what happened. Did the file been deleted? Is the file does not exist, or is the file been used by somebody else? So you can think of many conditions. Now, finally means, well, let's say you got the file, or in case the file is not there, then you would like to read from any secondary file. For example, this is my secondary file where I would like to read it from. If it will try for the first file, does not work, then it will write what error happened. Then it will try to open the content of the another file. And finally, you would like to close the operation. So that is the meaning. Try, catch, finally. Pretty simple, right? Now what I am going to do, I am going to keep all of this as it is. Okay. And go up and start writing the try catch block. Pretty simple, guys. So simply say try, catch, finally. You'll get in VS Code, hit enter. Now it looked a little little complicated because of the curly braces everywhere, but this is very simple. Okay, this is absolutely simple. All you have to do within this curly braces, you are writing your code, what you want to execute. Within the catch, you would like to see what you would like to catch and what is the alternative action would you like to take if that error happens. And finally, you want to close the operation. Now let's write the code. In the try, what I want to try, I would like to try this. Okay. And very important, you need to know the nature of PowerShell. PowerShell does not terminate. So for this, you have to write a commandlet called error action and then stop. So if the error if this command could not execute, don't move on to the next command. Let's say below this I have written something else. Okay. So for example, below this I will write an output, right? I'll show you how it works first of all. Okay. So write output and I'll say ever file exists. Okay. So generally, if I don't write this, okay, if I don't, I'll remove this. And if I run the code, so what happened? See, I'll just put a few hash symbols. Okay. And then let's minimize this. So now what I'm going to do, let me not delete all this green ones. Okay, so the code is pretty simple now. I have not written anything, it's all blank. Now if I'm going to run the code, just check what is happening. See, above file exists. It is writing the next command also. That means the line number 5 is getting executed, wherein I don't want to execute. When there is an error, it should move to the catch block. Now for that, what you do, all you have to write a simple code called error action. And then you say stop. When an error comes, then stop. For example, what I, okay. So for example, if I say error action stop, and then if I execute this code, now this line will never be executed. Look at it. See, last time it has executed above file exist. Now here, what happened? It didn't execute also. See, PowerShell script, that's all. It did not even execute, it stopped. So that is the difference. You have to write error action stop. This is clear. Now, once it stops, what you would like to do with that? You would like to catch the error and write what error happened. Clear? So what I will do, I'll use a write output, and here I would say in double quote error colon, and within double quote when you write, remember if you have to use some variable or an object, what error appeared, you have to use dollar symbol, parenthesis, dollar symbol, underscore dot. Underscore dot we have learned. This will carry that object value. And here I would say error, right? Error details dot message. I will say, okay, error details dot message. Now what happens by that? Let's run and see. If I run it, see, it said error, and then there is a problem. Okay, so what I am going to do, instead of writing error details, let me write exception.message. Okay, now if I'm going to run the code, you can see the exception message is got typed. Let me clear, there are a lot of things and we are really not able to understand. Let's run it. So what is happening here? Error cannot find path. So it is catching that error through this line. Do you see? It says because it does not exist. So it caught the error. Now if it doesn't exist, what would you like to do next? So for example, if the above file doesn't exist, I would like to open this file. I'll go up and I'm going to write it here. Pretty simple. I'm going to write it here, hello world.txt, and if I run it, okay, if I run it, so what happened, you see, I don't know if you can clearly see it or not. Let me clear everything and run it again. So what happened, let's understand. Now the try block ran, the fourth, the file doesn't exist, so it came to catch section, and then it should write that error. What happened? So here it has written error cannot find, error, the way I have typed it, has typed it, cannot find path, this and this. And then in the get content, right, it tried to read the content of another file, alternate file. So this is the help that try catch provides you. If this something doesn't work, you want to do something else, you want to catch the error, what happened, so everything can be done in a proper way. So hello Rakesh, hello world, that content of the text file is written and then closed. Now what is the use of the finally section? So sometimes finally section is like closing operations. For example, you want to close the file, you would like to do something, you want to close the browser, you want to, anything you would like to do, you can write in finally. Now for our purpose, what we will do, we'll simply write a message. And I'm going to say file operation closed. File operations closed. Pretty simple. And if I'm going to run this, you see, hello world, hello Rakesh, error, it printed the error, hello Rakesh, hello world, and file operation closed. So this is how the try catch block works in PowerShell script. And thank you very much to watch the video till now. You have a lot of patience. Please do comment in the comment section of the video that you have completed a video. Say I have completed the video. I'll be happy to see the names of the people who have completed the video from the start till the end. Thank you guys for watching. Let's meet in some of our interesting videos that are going to come on my YouTube channel. Thank you.